It's actually really hard work.
And this is the most irritating guy
I mean, they're all really welcoming, you know?
I've ever worked with.
You're amateur! I've just got nothing to lose. It doesn't make me insane, it makes me dangerous.
Please welcome Cera.
Cera, everybody!
What comes to mind when you picture a leading man? Confidence, surely.
When that perfect hand comes along, you bet big, and then you take the house.
They're almost definitely charming.
I mean, there's lots of beautiful women in this bar, your friend included.
I love you.
Maybe it's the physique.
You ever get the feeling like no one even sees you?
I've got a really good body, so.
But what about awkwardness?
You weren't really making eye contact with me.
I was getting a very weird vibe from you.
Or a timid, almost reluctant tone?
I felt I had to keep proving myself. I mean, nobody, it was kind of, I guess.
Maybe it's everything that goes against the conventional norm.
Hello, my name is Michael Cera. I'm an actor.
Michael Cera has one of the most interesting auras in all of Hollywood.
I know you're a kid, but you've had a lot of experience in the show business already.
His characters are, for the most part, incredibly non-threatening. Even when he's angry, it feels almost difficult to take him seriously.
What name? Who are you, Seal?
This isn't necessarily a bad thing, and the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. The coming-of-age films we see today aren't filmed with nearly as many tropes as they were in the 80s and 90s.
Is that true? My bet?
Two examples that come to mind are The Breakfast Club and Dazed and Confused.
Okay, all you freshmen, listen up!
Both were filled with your typical jocks,
Y'all ready to bust some ass?
cheerleaders, stoners,
You cool, man?
and of course, even the nerds.
Shouldn't we be enjoying ourselves now?
But as we turn the new millennium, we began getting coming-of-age fatigue, best highlighted in the 2001 satirical film Not Another Teen Movie.
Who's that?
It's my mother.
You have her eyes.
The college demographic was getting older, the younger generation was growing more tech-savvy, and the appeal of an unrated DVD cut was quickly fading. Then came Judd Apatow.
Your films are just through the roof.
Go yourself, San Diego.
You throwing too many big words at me. Because I don't understand them, I'm gonna take them as disrespect.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
I'm pregnant.
Off.
What? Hey, Greg, why don't you go piss your pants again? That was like 8 years ago, ass. People don't forget.
With films targeted towards an older crowd like The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up, he created a box office golden era for comedy.
It's a fantasy baseball draft. I'm not cheating or anything.
Oh, this is worse.
He discovered that if you take a character that people perceive as a loser,
What is she gonna think when she comes in here? Oh look, 1 billion toys.
give them a challenge as old as time,
Yo, answer this question. Are you a virgin?
and hire actors who seem like genuine, everyday people,
It seems like you work with these guys a lot. Why do you keep going back to them?
I like goofy guys, because I think they're underdogs.
the audience will have a far easier time relating to them.
The problem most men have is they don't know how to talk to women.
Despite being comedies, these characters were earnestly flawed and non-traditional.
We're gonna have a baby together.
Well, you're not married. Aren't you supposed to be married to have a baby?
Actors like Seth Rogen and Steve Carell aren't your typical leading men, but that's what initially drew people in. Individuals who wouldn't purely fall into the nerd or jock category. This formula would extend to what is arguably the greatest coming-of-age comedy film of all time.
And you landed on McLovin.
I was between that and Muhammad.
Why the would it be between that or Muhammad?
This would be most people's first introduction to the on-screen awkwardness of Michael Cera.
Look at Evan, okay? Just look at him.
Hey, don't keep me waiting much longer. I'm getting impatient up here.
Now, he's had a number of credits throughout his early years, most notably Arrested Development, but he'd hit mainstream awareness with his role as Evan in Superbad.
Take off your vest. You look like Aladdin.
Evan lacks the confidence, charm, and physical appearance of what we're used to seeing in a leading role.
I never see you at parties or anything.
It's because of all the other fun I'm off doing.
They're complex, confused teenagers dealing with the stress of impending adulthood. This awkward, neither loser nor popular middle ground character would be incredibly endearing to those who had both trouble navigating their teenage years.
We were supposed to go to college together, Evan. Since we were little kids, since elementary school, that's all we've ever talked about.
And coming to terms with their own identity.
And now because of you, I'm going to college, a friendless virgin.
Superbad is a comedy grounded in reality, where Jonah Hill's Seth would provide the humor.
When am I gonna need to cook tiramisu? Am I gonna be a chef? There's 3 weeks left in school. Give me a break.
Evan would provide the heart.
Here's McLovin, the 25-year-old Hawaiian organ donor.
Most of the bits stem from genuine, uncomfortable situations.
I'm sorry. That guy walked by. It was an accident.
Okay.
Taking a character who emotionally shuts down at the first sign of discomfort or conflict and putting him in the most cringeworthy situations imaginable is a recipe for some hilarious disaster.
You're not gonna sing for him?
Bullshit.
thing.
Given the fact that he doesn't seem to have the skills to help navigate these situations, it makes it that much easier to root for him. He isn't supposed to win, and yet
Maybe we can get some food.
Yeah, I like that.
he does. Only a few months after the release of Superbad came Juno,
Pregnancy can often lead to an infant.
Typically, yeah.
where Cera's Polly Bleecker would portray the similar trademark awkwardness we'd seen in Superbad.
Are you honestly and truly going to prom with Katrina DeVore?
Hi.
This character's insecurities were front and center.
Because you're like the coolest person I've ever met, and you don't even have to try.
I try really hard, actually.
He, once again, was neither a jock or a loser. He was just some guy dealing with the struggles of real-life teenagers.
So guess what?
What? I don't know.
I'm pregnant.
He was both sensitive and, like Evan, uncertain about the future. While he may not have had traditional masculine traits like confidence or charm, he did have empathy and commitment.
The best thing you can do is find a person who loves you for exactly what you are.
Then you had a similar character formula with roles in films like Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
You want me to hang out with you?
Yeah, if that's cool.
Though in the latter, these traits were played up significantly. This is a clear typecast, but if you look more into the man behind the roles, you start to realize something.
The last time I was here, I told a horrible joke that nobody laughed at, and it was like a very traumatic moment.
Michael Cera is exactly who he's portraying on screen. It's almost like he'd been playing himself for the last 2 decades. His timid and awkward nature is as present as it ever was.
You're very intimidating. Yeah.
He would eventually grow comfortable with his range and speak more assertively in interviews.
The movies that really stay with me are ones where there's like a final moment, like kind of a culmination.
But he couldn't continue playing timid teenagers into his late 20s and early 30s. Characters like Player X and Molly's Game would force him to step outside of his comfort zone.
These guys want to play cards with me, not you.
He would shed the previous timid persona in pursuit of a more conventional leading role.
I think he's kind of turned on by Molly's killer instinct, which he can relate to.
He was skilled, manipulative, and charming.
He can use that to his advantage.
It was a welcome transition from his passive youth.
So between takes, we would really just play poker, and it never felt like I was at work.
He was confident, more self-assured.
I know you're a big fish, but you're not going to snap my line, okay? I'm hanging on tight.
He had become a true leading man. So why did this feel so bittersweet?
I just want to go to the rooftops and scream, I love my best friend Evan.
I want the world to know. It's the most beautiful thing in the world.
Good mood, bad mood, ugly, pretty. That's the kind of person that's worth sticking with.
Cera's earlier characters are a complete nostalgia trip. It was an era that reminded you it's possible to make films both explicit and vulgar.
You got like 24 hands.
Yes, and 3/4 of a job, but who's counting, Evan?
While also making them incredibly heartfelt.
I missed you. Why don't we say that every day? Why can't we say it more often?
At the core of this was an individual who was equally, if not more vulnerable than the characters he's portrayed on screen. I don't think I've seen youth captured with the same awkward authenticity, the same cringe and relatability. Or maybe it's not that. Maybe these films meant more because we were younger then, and like Evan and Seth,
I'm afraid to live with strangers.
We're afraid of change. Despite this, time moves on, actors grow and adapt. Michael Cera is a prime example of this.
I've been telling them they should put some disclaimer. He's coming later.
His interviews are noticeably smoother, his performances more polished, and the awkward, lanky weirdo we remember is much less familiar now.
I just want to say congratulations. The last time since I've seen you, you've become a dad.
Yes.
How's fatherhood?
I love him, and I know he'll be watching this someday and just be so proud of me.
For some of us, he's the purest portrayal of nervousness and discomfort.
What should we do?
For others, he's tied to our youth, our own era of innocence and discovery.
What the f do we do, man?
Don't stop.
For everyone else,
do people regard you as being part of the new Hollywood? Do you get that a lot?
I mean, I'm not gonna say, no one here has ever heard of me, I'm sure, believe. I don't think.
He's just Michael Cera.